two identical murders with no apparent link, a mysterious voice that saves a life, and a freak wind that transported a girl miles away. Did these stories actually happen? Or are we having fun with our imaginations? Join us as we find out what's fact or fiction.
The line that divides the factual from the unreal has long since blurred. The tales we once thought fantastical, now implanted as truth. To decipher verity from the imagined, you must break from the ordinary and consider a universe where the outlandish prevails. Can you expand your mind to see beyond our perceived reality? Can you decide what's fact or fiction?
Two seemingly normal women connected only by having the same names meet grisly ends just days apart from each other. Was this all just a coincidence, or was something more sinister at play?
It was an uneventful fall of 2000 in Houston, Texas, when 48-year-old Mary Lou Morris left her suburban home to go to her work as a bank loan officer. She kissed her husband and children goodbye as they finished breakfast at the kitchen table, without knowing that this would be the last time she'd ever see her family. It was the afternoon by the time Mary's husband realized that something was wrong, and when he still couldn't get in touch with her after 5 p.m., he called the police to report her missing. It wasn't long before a motorist made the gruesome discovery of Mary's body on a secluded road just 3 miles from her home. Her body had been so badly burned that she was identified by using tooth fragments, and sadly, police had no leads to a suspect. While Mary's family and friends were still grieving from the shocking incident, another family was about to experience the exact same fate. Just 3 days later, another Mary Morris lost her life in a similarly violent manner. 39-year-old Mary McGinnis Morris, a nurse, was also found dead in her car on a remote road a few miles from her home. And although the scene had been made to look like a suicide, police immediately identified the scene as a setup. But the difference in this case is that there were immediately 2 suspects: the husband going after her hefty life insurance policy, and a disgruntled worker who blamed Mary for his firing. 20 years later, and the cases are still shrouded in mystery, but the prevailing theory is that the first murder was a hit gone wrong, and that the second Mary Morris was the intended target all along. After all, what are the chances of 2 women with the same names being murdered just days apart in a city of only 2 million people?
Is it possible that 2 seemingly normal women could meet such grisly ends just days apart from one another in the same fashion? Is this story too coincidental to be true? Maybe it was a mistake of identity and the wrong Mary was killed. But would a hitman be so careless? We'd love to know your thoughts in the comments section below, and be sure to vote now using the on-screen poll. Our next tale brings us to Essex in England and teaches us all to listen to that weird feeling in the pits of our stomachs.
It was late one Friday night in the dead of winter of 1991 when Mike Smith and his wife Linda were driving home from a family gathering. Sleeping in the back of their small hatchback car was their 3-year-old son, Samuel. It had been snowing all afternoon, and as the young family drove down the A12 toward their home in Chelmsford, it was becoming harder to see through the flurries of white that were now enveloping their little car. Mike and Linda were chatting quietly about their day, when suddenly Mike went quiet and his face grew pale in the moonlight. Linda was asking what was wrong when Mike began rolling down his window. Linda asked him what was going on and why he was letting snow into the car and freezing their young son. But before Mike had a chance to answer, their car smashed into a parked van. The van had broken down and no lights were on, so it was impossible to see in the heavy snowfall. After a second of silence, Samuel began to scream, and Linda and Mike started to smell gasoline. The couple tried to open their doors, but the force of the accident had jammed them shut. Linda screamed as she realized they were trapped and that the leaking fuel could ignite at any second. Realizing his window was down, Mike burst into action, climbed through the tiny opening, and helped his wife and son to safety. Like any typical action movie, just as the family made it to safety, the car ignited into a rolling mass of flames. The following day, safe and warm at home, Linda asked her husband why he opened the window so late at night and in such cold conditions. He told her that he had a strong feeling that something terrible was about to happen and that he needed to open the window immediately. And it was that feeling that saved the lives of his entire family.
We all know about those gut instincts, but to make a decision that quickly that winds up saving 3 lives? Out of all things, why did he think to roll down the window? It would seem that you'd want the windows up during a snowstorm, no? We'd love to know your thoughts in the comments section below, and be sure to place your votes while we get ready for our third and final story. This time we're heading off to China. A young girl was having typical fun with her friends when suddenly a freak incident occurred that she was lucky to survive.
Zhongcheng District, close to Shanghai, is an unremarkable place that most people outside of the area have never heard of. The population of 1.5 million live in a humid, subtropical climate with 4 distinct seasons, and other than an occasional thunderstorm, the weather is as predictable as everything else in the town. It was 1992 when 9-year-old Wang Su-ying was playing in the local park with her friends after school. There was a strong breeze that day, which is often the case in early autumn, but the weather was otherwise pleasant and calm. The group of children were playing hide and seek, when suddenly and seemingly out of nowhere, a tornado touched down on the very ground that the kids were playing on. Before any of them could react, it tore through the park and picked up everything in its path, including Wang Su-ying. Horrified onlookers were powerless as the twister plucked the tiny girl from her hiding place behind a bench and carried her high up into the sky until she was no longer visible to those watching. The tornado disappeared from sight as quickly as it had appeared, and panic quickly consumed the entire district. Wang Su-ying's parents were informed of the incident, and everyone assumed the worst, that the little girl was lost forever. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of shock and sadness as the community came together to support the family of the innocent life that had presumably been lost. But later that day, a call came that seemed to be a miracle. The little girl was alive. She had been found in a tree 2 miles away from the park she had been playing in, and the weirdest part, she had suffered no injuries whatsoever.
There are plenty of stories of people surviving the impossible. But is a 9-year-old girl really capable of living through a terrifying 2-mile ordeal inside a tornado? How is it possible that she was found unharmed in a tree with no cuts or bruises at all? Maybe it isn't possible, and we simply concocted the story to throw you for a loop. Let us know what you think right now by using the on-screen poll while we get ready for the moment we've all been waiting for, the reveal.
Are you ready to find out if you can decipher between fact or fiction? Let's look back at tonight's 3 stories and find out which were born from reality and which were fabrications of the imagination.
Do you remember our first story of the 2 Marys? Do you believe that a hitman could be so careless as to kill the wrong person? Whatever you may believe, we can tell you that this story is 100% true. Just like in our story, two women named Mary Morris were both killed in October of 2000, just days apart. To this day, police believe it to be the sloppy workings of a hitman, and no suspects have ever been arrested. Next, we head back to England and the tale of the Smiths. Did Mike's gut instinct give him the opportunity to save his entire family from a fiery death? Whether you believe in intuition or not, and while this story is entirely plausible, we can tell you that this story is entirely false. We base this on nothing more than our imaginations. Finally, we have the incredible tale of Wang Shu-ying and her 2-mile journey with a tornado. Could she really have survived such a horrifying ordeal at the hands of Mother Nature? If you think we made this tale up, you'd be absolutely wrong. It's entirely true, though the identity of the little girl still remains a mystery. Her story is chronicled in the Book of Lists, the original compendium of curious information, which you can find right now on Amazon.com.
How well did you do in tonight's video? Did you look past the deception of our world and define the off-blurred line that struggles to separate lies from the truth? Let us know in the comment section below. And should you find the urge to test your perceptions again, be sure to subscribe and join us next time when we ask you to decide what's fact or fiction.